And wearing the star for the first jam of the game for Minnesota, we've got Breezes. And the game begins. Both jammers are off their line, meeting up with brace tripods. But Arizona makes it out first. Princess Leia is lead jammer. Looks like we're going to have a jammer foot race back to the pack. A little apex hop and a hit and quit. 2 points up for Arizona. Axel on the line for Arizona. We've got Boo Boo for Minnesota. And Boo Boo makes it out first, lead jammer. That's the first lead jam for Arizona. It's my understanding that it's a sticky floor this morning. Good for jammers, not so hot for blockers, but we'll see how it works out for everybody. Two points go up for Minnesota, and that's none up for Arizona. For this third jam, we've got Twisted Transistor for Minnesota and Gail Satan for Arizona. Welcome, Chip a Tooth.
What's up, Spike? Good morning.
Twisted Transistor, lead jammer. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Big pile up in the head of turn one, between turn 1 and 2. Twisted Transistor pushing on a braced four wall of Arizona blockers. Same story for Gail Satan.
Gail, 2 more to beat at the top, is going to be out on their initial pass with Twisted Transistor in the back looking for 4 points of her own. That is going to be Gail out on their initial.
Are you on? Yeah. Twisted Transistor through the pack, putting up 4 points and calling off the jam. That brings Minnesota to 6. No points up for Arizona. That's 2 for Arizona.
And a clear penalty box, Spite. Look at this.
So far, so good.
So far, no penalties on the board. Remember, if you are first joining us, penalties last 30 seconds. If you get 2, that's a minute. You can get up to 7 penalties in a game. At 7, you are politely asked to get the heck off the track.
Politely.
Mostly politely.
Mostly politely.
We have number 6-5 for Minnesota. That's T-Rex going up against Kiwi for Arizona Rising.
There you are.
Both jammers fighting through. That is going to be Kiwi at the top for lead jammer for Arizona. Rex does have cap in hand, looking to pass as Kiwi comes in for their first scoring pass. Met on the outside by Benicula, being dragged all the way back by Minnesota.
That may be advantageous. Benicula with that pivot cover on.
But that is Rex on the inside, cap in hand, does some twinkle toe work of her own, is now coming around for a scoring pass. Kiwi working on 4 points and is going to go ahead and call the jam. Points on the board for Arizona.
6-all.
Tie game. I'm stressed.
It's already looking good.
It is too early in the morning to be this stressed, but that is
I
okay.
had enough caffeine. How did you do? Oh, you got
I
caffeine
never
right
have
there.
enough caffeine. It's just impossible.
By the way, I did try one of those drinks from yesterday.
What do you think?
I like it.
Not bad, right?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Very good.
Makes you see sounds. That's what we like.
Not going to name names because they didn't sponsor us, so
We'll ask them later.
We'll ask later, yeah. Sign that check. Fanny Smack jamming for Minnesota. And we've got Skarin Yeager up for Arizona.
Fanny Smack with lead for Minnesota.
Scaring Yeager out on the initial.
And that will be a call off from Fanny Smack, bringing Minnesota's score total. Let's see. Is that a 0-0 jam? That may have been. Oh, we got 1 point on the board for Minnesota.
That's how we do it, one at a time.
Once at a time. All right, up next on the line for Arizona, we have Princess Leia going up against Breezes for Minnesota.
Holy Breezes.
Once again, an empty penalty box. Both jammers pushing against that back, trying that outside line, finding no luck there. Bree cutting into the inside. Slaya still pushing on that outside. Both jammers going up against 4 blockers from each team. A fight in that first apex, and it is going to be Princess Slaya out for lead. Breeze is sneaking on that outside line, not far behind. Both coming in for points. We do have 1 Minnesota blocker headed to that penalty box. First penalty of the game.
That would be Fanny Smack hitting down. 4 points go up for Arizona, none for Minnesota. Very tight jamming strategy happening right now.
Quick call-ups. We're not seeing a whole lot of long scoring passes from these teams. They want to keep it close. They want to keep control of that game.
We got Boo Boo on the line for Minnesota up against Arizona's Axel.
Both pods kind of in a scrum start. Not a whole lot of breathing room for these jammers as they both attempt to go in that inside line. Boo cutting to the outside. Axel also cutting to the outside, pushing against that Minnesota tripod in the front. Is going to get knocked, but then back on their feet quickly, and it is going to be a power jam for Minnesota. That is going to be a penalty for Arizona's jammer. Looks like a forearm. Boo working on that outside as her blockers attempt to hold Arizona back. Quick cut to the inside, and is going to be recycled back quickly. Mauls to the walls, helping with some offense.
Lead is still available.
Still available. We are 30 seconds into this jam.
And they haven't even made turn 1 yet.
This is a scrum, and it looks like we're also going to have Boo Boo going to the box. This game would be boring if both jammers are in the penalty box, so what's going to happen is we're going to do a jammer switch. Boo is going to sit in the box, and Axel is going to be released. Axel's going to be on the track. Boo Boo will then sit for the exact same amount of time as Axel did.
And it's going to be a 2-minute jam, 1 minute remaining. Forearm call being assessed on Axel. Axel headed back to the penalty box.
Second penalty of the jam for Arizona's jammer. That will release Boo Boo from Minnesota from the penalty box. Right about probably now-ish.
It takes a sec or two.
There we go. Boo is back on the jam. We have 44 seconds left in this jam, ladies and gentlemen. Still no lead. We are not going to have a lead since we both had both jammers go to the box. Boo Boo encountering a strong Arizona defense up at the front. We've got a couple more whistles going.
Assessed. Forearm call being assessed on the Arizona pivot. Boo Boo still fighting hard. Boo Boo made it through on the initial at long last. 20 seconds left in the jam. Let's see what Boo Boo does with it.
We are getting a pretty full penalty box for Arizona over there. 2 blockers in the box as Boo does hit and sneaks through on that outside, but is hit outside as well. Axel making some moves of their own on that inside line. That will be 4 points for Arizona. Boo still fighting through on that outside.
That is not 4 points for Arizona. That was Axel's initial.
Just kidding. Axel's initial. All right. Let's see how points fold out. 4 for Minnesota on that. Still holding it as a 1-point game. Minnesota in the lead with 11. Arizona with 10.
Wow.
Exhausting.
Exhausting and fast jams, except for this last one was 2 minutes. But you know we're looking to rack it up already this morning. Twisted transistor jamming for Minnesota. That is Scaring Yeager jamming for Arizona. Twisted transistor on the outside in turn 1. Picks up lead jammer.
Yeager, though, not far behind, looking for some points of their own. Mako is released from the penalty box as Arizona's pivot. Twisted is going to hit that pack, do some spin moves, and call off the jam. Let's see if it was in time. We have 4 points in the air for Minnesota, none for Arizona. And a clear penalty box.
A clear penalty box. Just like that.
You love to see it.
Love to see it. Except for if you sponsor the penalty box. You know that if you are a Minnesota roller derby sponsor, you can sponsor the penalty box, and then we have to say your name sponsored the penalty box every time someone heads to said penalty box. We are taking nice checks for this. We don't have it, but I'm telling people we can write us checks.
All right, we have Gail Satan out on the line for Arizona going up against T-Rex, and it is going to be T-Rex from Minnesota out as lead jammer. Gail Satan making some moves, and actually no pass, no penalty for T-Rex, making Gail Satan lead jammer for this jam, meaning Gail can call it off whenever they would like. Looks like Gail's going to try and get some points of their own before doing so, being held by Fieri. T-Rex being recycled back and having to fight their way through. We do hear some whistles for a penalty. That is going to send Minnesota's pivot to the penalty box. Gail Satan through for 4 points. T-Rex still working on the back of that pack against that strong Arizona defense. Gail coming around for 4 more as we still have Minnesota's pivot in the box. Beautiful toe stop work, but stopped by Scam Likely on that inside from Minnesota. Gail says, just kidding, I'll do it again. 4 more points for Arizona roller derby. T-Rex pushing against the back of that pack. Looking for some offensive help.
Not only will she do it again, she's not sorry.
No, she's not sorry at all. Gets points, not sorry about it. Gail's working through.
4 points go up for Minnesota as T-Rex completes the first scoring pass.
I believe we will have an Arizona blocker headed to that penalty box.
We're still sitting at a 1-point game.
It's like they're doing it on purpose.
They're keeping it exciting. It's nice.
Yeah.
I love calling close games. It is a secret, not so secret favorite of mine. So I'm enjoying the heck out of this.
Who needs to take a deep breath early in the morning? All right. Jam 9 of this first game of day 2 for Minnesota Roller Derby's Have a Nice Day tournament here in Hopkins, Minnesota. That is going to be Princess Leia out for lead for Arizona. Fanny Smack from Minnesota still fighting against that pack. Princess Leia coming around for points.
Cap is stashed for Minnesota.
Speed Rita from Minnesota looking for a cut track, and I believe does get it. Arizona's jammer is headed to that penalty box, making this a power jam for Fanny Smack. Cap is in hand, so this will be a 2-minute jam. Fanny also headed to that penalty box. Another jammer do-si-do, I believe second of the game that we've seen.
Second do-si-do of the game. Let's see if how long this one's going to last. Not very, because it was boom boom.
Both jammers now back on the track. Caps firmly ensconced on their heads, which means they are looking to score some points. Banicula from Minnesota making it hard for Princess Leia from Arizona to get points on that inside line. Both jammers now deep in this defensive pack that both teams have put out today. And it is going to be Fanny out. Princess Leia working hard, getting some offensive help from their friends.
Someone's getting a forearm call. That is
number
Laurel
11.
Almighty.
Fanny
4 points go up for Princess Leia. 4 points up for Fanny Smack.
We have 35 seconds left in this jam. It will go the full 2 minutes as both jammers did take a quick visit to that penalty box. Fanny pushed to that inside. Is going to be forced to recycle back. And another penalty for Arizona's jammer, making this once again a power jam for Minnesota. Fanny making some work. Looking for some offensive help as Arizona does hold her on that outside line. Is going to have to recycle all the way back. Remember, if you do get hit out of bounds, you have to go in behind the person who hit you out. Hate that rule.
They hate that rule, but strategically speaking, if you don't know who hit you, you need to just go back.
Just go back.
4 points up for Arizona on their last pass before the penalty. That brings Arizona to 27, Minnesota to 27.
And it looks as though we are going to have an official timeout.
Yep.
Each team is assigned 3 timeouts and 1 official review per half. Officials can have as many timeouts as they want.
Right, they got to keep things straight, so it's kind of important if they need to confer.
Confer, hydrate, check in, ask what they had for breakfast.
True story. The collective term for a pack of zebras in the wild is a dazzle.
A dazzle of zebras.
A dazzle of zebras.
I think I heard that on Animal Planet once.
Maybe so. I know my kid saw it on some YouTube, Netflix, whatever that he watches.
If David Attenborough said it, it must be true.
It must be true.
Look at the scoreboard.
Ooh.
That's a tie game, folks.
That's a tie game.
Not even a 1-point game. So if you're watching from home, take a drink.
Take a
tie
sip.
Game.
Hydrate, don't dehydrate.
Oh, I should have some more coffee.
Yes, more coffee is good.
Picture
this
of
jam brought to you by the announcers.
We sponsored this jam? I don't have any money. Jam also brought to us by Track Maintenance Crew. Thanks so much, Track Maintenance Crew, for keeping us safe out there.
Absolutely. Doing it good. Who is that doing track maintenance?
That's BizQuick from MNRD.
All right, on the line for MNRD, we've got number 14, Breezes, with that power start, picking up Lee Jammer right off the line.
And Princess Leia is released from the penalty box, looking on their initial pass.
It's always interesting to see what strategy they'll make as the power start is over with, what the rejoining Jammer will do.
Bree is fighting for some points at the front of that pack against that Arizona tripod. Couple whistles means we are going to have some friends going and visiting that penalty box. It's going to be Malls headed to that box.
4 points going up for Minnesota. Penalty being assessed on an Arizona blocker. I believe that was a directional. By Fury taking a seat in the penalty box.
And Bree's going to go ahead and call that jam before it gets even more exciting. Let's see how many points we end up. Looks like we got 3 extra, making a total of 7 points for Minnesota Roller Derby, bringing their score up to 34. Arizona at 27. Quick look at our penalties. Couple players at 2 penalties. Nothing serious. We got plenty of time.
Jammer penalties are telling a different story. We got 4 on Arizona's side, 2 only on Minnesota's. So Jammer penalties might tell the story of the game.
Looking a little heavy on that side.
Looking a little tough. Even though it's not the same person every time, it does affect the way things are played. Boo Boo on the line for Minnesota, wearing the star for, it's Gail Satan jamming for Arizona. I forgot where they were from for just a second.
We do have a very full penalty box on the Minnesota side. 3rd blocker for Minnesota head to that penalty box as Kiwi does get out as lead with only 1 blocker to beat on that track. Banicula having to hold it down for Minnesota. Malls returning this track. Boo is still out on their initial. Beautiful outside toe stop work on the part of Kiwi, getting 4 points for Arizona.
Tricky toe stop work with this tight track.
Yeah, I hear it's sticky as all get out. Kiwi meeting that Minnesota tripod in the front. Boo still working on that tripod in the back against Arizona. Does have cap in hand.
I see no give in those tripods whatsoever.
The defensive work from all teams this weekend so far has been so impressive.
It has been so nice to see tight walls and hard offense, hard defense.
Grinding jams throughout this weekend. And it's only Saturday morning. We have a whole 2 days of Derby left. Mako from Arizona making Boo Boo's life pretty challenging out there on the track. We do have an equipment flying into the middle.
4 points going up for Kiwi.
And that is going to be a star pass to number 1717 for Minnesota. Banicula, pivot turn jammer. Boo Boo will now join the blocking force of Minnesota, trying to hold Kiwi back. And Kiwi does slide through on that outside, gaining 1 extra point for Arizona, bringing their total up to 35. 36.
That is a lead change. If you're playing at home, it's time to hydrate.
A 2-point lead change.
Sometimes 2 points is what you need, and 2 point makes your lead.
We'll take it. And a clear penalty box. Very exciting. I'm just going to start taking a drink every time there's a clear penalty box.
You're going to need to pee so bad.
I know.
Twisted Transistor on the lineup against Axel. Twisted Transistor, a very muscular, dangerous jammer. She's very deliberate.
She's very deliberate, and she is fearless. She will see half an inch of space and say, I could make that.
Yeah, she's going for the seams like they teach you, but she's going for all the gaps.
And she doesn't actually have bones. We did have a medical professional check her. She's just made out of Gumby matter.
Gumby
she just
matter?
bends back and forth.
But it's Axel making it out first as lead jammer.
Twisted, also out on her initial, is going to come on with some points. We do see Marty McFly, Minnesota's pivot, in the penalty box, and that is going to be a quick call-off from Kiwi, stopping Twisted from scoring any points of her own.
That was just a bust through and make my points. I'm doing this.
I gotta
from
go.
Axel. I got this.
I like to leave.
We got Gail Satan on the line for Arizona, donning the star for Minnesota. We've got T-Rex, who, despite the name, has full-length arms.
Full-length arms. Quick shout out. Thank you to all of our volunteers, our refs, our medics, our non-skating officials. Thank you to everyone who made this weekend possible. Could not do it without you. 12 minutes left in this first half of the game. And we do have Gail Satan out as lead jammer for Arizona coming around. Rex with 2 left to beat. Gail Satan coming around for scoring points. We have 1 blocker from Minnesota standing in the penalty box. Gail blasting through, not taking any prisoners.
Oh, goodness. That was a bit of a pileup. Whistles raining down.
And it is going to be a power jam as Gail Satan is headed to the penalty box. So we will see Rex fighting through, getting some offensive help, but facing that full complement of Arizona blockers. working through, trying to finish that initial pass. Star in hand. Pivot is back on the line. We do hear another whistle. That is going to be a Minnesota blocker sent to the penalty box. And a star pass to Marty McFly, making her jammer of record. Marty coming around, seeing if she can add some points to Minnesota's scoreboard. Hard hits delivered by Arizona Roller Derby.
Having watched Arizona Roller Derby play before, I am not surprised with the strength of these hits.
It hurts to watch.
Accuracy. 4 points go up for Marty McFly.
And Gail Satan through.
4 points for Arizona. Gail Satan snuck out of the box and into my heart.
Marty McFly threw untouched. 4 points on the board for Minnesota. Gail Satan also threw for another 4. This is going to be a high-scoring jam for both of these teams. 8 points apiece currently. Another untouched pass for Marty McFly. And Gail Satan coming in for 4 more points, trying to balance out this score. We do have one Arizona blocker standing in the penalty box. Gail Satan fighting through those Minnesota blockers at the top. Marty McFly, though, through on that inside line.
4 more
that
points
is
for Marty
16
McFly.
points on the board for Marty McFly.
Which is the highest scoring jam of the game thus far.
I believe so, and 12 on the board for Gail Satan, so high scores across the board.
That's right, and of course this has to go for that 2 minutes 4 whistles rain down and tell us that that's over. No points for Gail Satan on that pass, but 3 more points for Marty McFly make it a 19-point jam. 19 points and another lead change.
Another lead change, and it is still a 1-point game.
It is
theme
still
of the
a
day.
1-point game. Oh my goodness, I'm not going to get tired of saying that, but I will say something. Hello to those of you watching at home on our Twitch feed.
Hi, Twitch friends. What's it like still being in bed? Tell me about it. I'm jealous. Official timeout right now gives everyone a chance to kind of regroup.
That's correct. Looks
your
like there's
breakfast
a score conference happening at the table.
Math is hard.
Math is real
I get
hard,
it.
but
Math's
they got to
tough.
make sure their math is good because they're the ones keeping us going.
I'm glad that's not my job. I'm terrible at math. That is not my strong suit. We have Fanny Smack on that jammer line going up against, hold on, I got to learn how to read, Skaren Yeager for Arizona. Empty penalty box. That's my favorite stat so far of the day.
Speaking of stats, checking this out, we still got 5 jammer penalties on the Arizona side. We got 2 jammer penalties for Minnesota. So cleaner jammer game coming from Minnesota, but with the hits that are going down, I'm absolutely certain we're going to see a little more going on in the second half.
Absolutely. All right, both jammers fighting their way through those full tripods with a helper. And that is going to be Skaren Yeager up at the top. Lead jammer for Arizona. Fanny Smack still working against that tough Arizona defense in the back. Hit to the outside and forced to recycle.
We got a directional gameplay being assessed for is that one Arizona blocker. Can't see the number from here. I think
Number 6'2", I believe.
Mako.
Fanny Smack through on her initial pass. Yeager checking in with their bench. They're saying, keep going. You're doing great. That's 4 points already on the board for Arizona Roller Derby as Fanny enters the pack for her first scoring pass. Does dangle through on that outside, but now has 2 to beat. Yeager making an entrance in the back of that pack.
4 points go up for Fanny Smack.
Yeager reassessing and making quick work, but does get hit out on that outside line. Is going to call off the jam before Fanny can come in for another pass.
3 points went up for Arizona on that pass. That puts us at 59-57. It's a 2-point game.
8 minutes, 48 seconds left in this first half of the first game of the day.
My goodness.
Don't worry, though. After this game, we still have 5 more roller derby games being played today. You will see all teams involved in this tournament playing today.
That's correct. We got Princess Leia jamming for Arizona, and that is Breezes up for Minnesota.
Breezes fighting towards the top. Breezes out for lead jammer for Minnesota Roller Derby. Breezes, in her spare time, a ballerina. Danced in college, very graceful. We'll tell you all about it.
It explains the muscles on those legs.
Explains the muscles, explains the beautiful dance moves and the twisting that we are seeing.
Absolutely. So, graceful jammer. I love it.
Very graceful. Very scary. That is going to be Slaya out on their initial, and Breezes is going to go ahead and call the jam, holding Arizona scoreless. Let's see how many Breezes put on the board for Minnesota.
So that should bring Minnesota, I think, to 61.
Nice. Great math skills. I like it.
And the reason I hesitate to wait until the scoreboard updates itself.
Let it do the math for you.
That's right.
You know?
Exactly. So, Boo Boo on the line for Minnesota. I saw that was Kiwi jamming for Arizona. Pairing we've seen before.
Empty penalty box.
Empty penalty box.
Very exciting. That is Kiwi out for a quick lead for Arizona Roller Derby coming around. Boo still working against that tough Arizona tripod in the back, getting some offensive help as Kiwi does re-enter for that first scoring pass. Blasting their way through. And that is going to be 4 points on the board for Kiwi in Arizona. Boo does have cap in hand.
I tell you what, we've seen Kiwi do that before. It's not got any less impressive. It's still very impressive.
That blast through the middle.
Just bam.
It's tough work. Now being recycled back by Marty McFly. We do see a star pass from Minnesota to Bifierdi. Unfortunately, one blocker in the penalty box for Arizona, but Bifierdi does have the star on their head, is going to come on for a scoring pass. Kiwi looking at their bench being told, you're doing great, run it.
Run it.
By entering that pack. Whoop.
Bifierdi gets a good check.
Checking if the gravity is still on. It still is. Fighting through that top. 1 to beat. Now 2 to beat for Bai as Kiwi is working in the back of that defensive tripod against Minnesota for 4 more points. 8 on the board so far for Kiwi and Arizona Roller Derby.
Look at that blocking by Phoenix and 2 by force on Arizona's side. Minnesota not getting an inch.
No. The defense we've seen today is so impressive.
All right, as they get swallowed up, Minnesota's jammer goes right to the back of the pack to try to kind of reset the mental focus. So 3 points each on that pass. And that's another lead change.
Quick visit over to our penalties. We do have 1 Arizona skater at 5 penalties.
Woo.
Remember, you can get a grand total of 7. Before you are asked to think about what you've done, de-gear.
That's right. Gear down and go become a spectator.
Have some locker room thoughts about it. Other than that, though, no one else in super serious penalty trouble. We are having yet another official timeout.
During this official timeout, I'd love to talk about, I don't know, how you're going to get to hear me for 4 games today.
I know. You're saving my butt. I accidentally signed up for an announcing spot when I am busy.
But I'm excited to see Chippa-Tooth play earlier today.
Oh, boy. Chippa-Tooth's not excited. It'll be great.
Chippa-Tooth is very excited. I love Chippa-Tooth.
Once Chippa-Tooth wakes up, she'll be more excited.
Yes.
Thanks, track maintenance friends, for keeping us together. It is a tough game out there, so our track does take a beating. Our track was laid Friday morning by our own Minnesota skaters, and we are doing our best to try and keep it on the floor, not floating midair. I do love the cheers that are going on. We've got a great cheering section directly across from us. They wrote the cheers themselves.
All right.
On the car ride up, they wrote the cheers themselves. Shout out to the Deer family.
Very cool.
You guys sound great.
And actually, you should know, you could see that on the Twitch feed. Let's see the sign.
Hold up some signs, friends. Call you. I'll call you later, baby.
There you go.
Yeah, great signs. Look at that. Artistic, talented.
And cheerful, cheering.
Roland Riz holding up a sign for herself. That's a choice.
That's a choice that was made, yes. That is.
Wow.
That is definitely Riz, though.
That is definitely Riz. She's got some Riz.
It's true.
Ask her to tap dance for you.
Tap dance.
She can tap dance
now. We've got dancers all over the place.
We've got ballerinas. We've got tap dancers. We are multi-talented. We got weird moves between the jammer and the third base coach right now. Woo. Don't know what that was. Russet, do that again. Do that move again, Russet. Do your move. Yeah, that. There. Okay, now never do that again.
No, now you just T-pose and tell us what we're doing.
Still hanging out on our official timeout.
That's right.
Refs conferring, refs rehydrating, track being laid.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty dazzled.
Are you dazzled?
I'm dazzled. But not bedazzled. I need some bling.
I'm not big on bedazzling. I know it's Pride Month, but I'm not big on bedazzling.
Maybe just for Pride Month.
Yeah. All right. If you are in-house and you're looking for something to do between games, we do have 2 very talented tattoo artists hanging out in the back of our track here.
I know. I was very excited.
They've got great flash tattoos. I'm getting one at 6 p.m.
Cool.
Sign up for your very own. We are back on the track. We've got Axel.
And Axel. There we go.
Wow. Twisted for a quick lead for Minnesota Roller Derby coming around. Axel fighting through, does have one more to beat up at the top. Is going to run into some defense from Laurel Mighty from Minnesota. Twisted re-entering the pack for scoring points.
Twisted with that fearless, I will block for myself, gosh darn it.
It's terrifying. Terrifying to watch her skate.
Twisted being pulled all the way back behind Colette Razorcat. Colette Razorcat with the block. I will positionally block you, Twisted.
Twisted, though, through for 4 points. And I believe we have had a star pass on the part of Arizona Roller Derby, making Ragin
Bajin,
jammer of record for Arizona Roller Derby, dragged all the way back by Minnesota's pivot Benicula. Now going up against Nova, Danger, and Benicula from Minnesota, pushing on the back of that tripod. Twisted encountering some defensive hard work of her own on the point of Arizona. She's working for those points up front. And Arizona said,
cycling back. Because So Dangerous was in fact dangerous.
So dangerous.
4 points up.
Through. 4 more points. Still a very grinding jam, a very grinding game. Jammers are having to work incredibly hard for these points. We will hear a whistle, meaning someone gets to go take a seat and take a break in the penalty box. And unfortunately, it is going to be
Ragin' Bajin.
Arizona's pivot turn jammer is going to take a seat in the penalty box, making this a power jam for Minnesota. Twisted being told to run the jam. She's doing great. Oh, she's going to call it. Just kidding.
That's going to freeze the jammer in the box, however, and it's going to be a long power start.
Great strategic move.
Absolutely. And Bajin has to think about what she's done.
Who do we have on the jam line now?
That is T-Rex. Still has full-length arms.
Still has full-length arms. We love to see it. If that changes, we're all in trouble.
Yes. You realize that I'm going to have to tease T-Rex mercilessly if a forearm call gets thrown.
Right. You have to.
You have to.
You have to.
It's in my contract. Also in my contract, at some point, there will be Deep in the Heart of Texas.
Oh, boy. I've heard this song about the song twice now today. I've never heard it before.
I will be singing it at some point during the Texas game.
Blast it out. The only word I know is Texas. We do see out on the track for Arizona with the pivot cap is Gail Satan, who has been jamming so far this entire game. I believe the plan is once Ragin does exit the penalty box, star is in hand, and Gail Satan will be ready to receive that star as pivot turn jammer. Rex now working through for 4 points at the top of that pack. Ragin re-entering after their penalty is going to have to make their initial pass going up against Minnesota, but we will see that star pass. It's like I'm psychic. Holy smokes. Gail Satan now jammer of a record for Arizona, a position they're comfortable in, has been doing great in all game, and T-Rex is going to go ahead and call that off before Gail can put any points on the board for Arizona.
Now that's 4 points for Gail Satan. Salud.
Bless me.
It puts 80 points on the board for Minnesota, 70 for Arizona. 10 points ain't nothing in this game.
2 minutes and 17 seconds left in this first half.
And on the line, we've got number 89, Fanny Smack, taking on number 21, 87, Princess Leia.
Empty penalty box, which means that both jammers have to go up against 4 blockers, making their job even more difficult than it was going to be. That is going to be a Minnesota blocker headed to the penalty box. That is going to be so dangerous. Bye, buddy. We will see Fanny out as lead, but it is going to be a jammer race as Princess Leia taking on speed. Oh, a little high five between jammers. You love to see it.
Love to see it. Double donuts, however, not as exciting as we expected.
I mean, I love donuts. Do you not like donuts?
I like eating donuts.
Yeah.
Buying said donuts, being given said donuts is good.
Free donuts, even better than purchased donuts.
Oh, yes. They taste awesome.
We do have Jaeger on the track for Arizona going up against Barizas for Minnesota. 1 Minnesota blocker sitting in the penalty box. Pack advantage for Arizona as the jam is underway. This is going to be jam number 21 of the first half. It is going to be, however, Barizas up on the outside line, going to be lead jam for Minnesota. We are going to see a cut track penalty on Arizona's jammer, making this a power jam for Minnesota Roller Derby. Seeing if we can put some points on that board. Quick little duck on the outside by Barizas. And she will be through for 4 points for Minnesota Roller Derby.
They only count if you stay in bounds.
Stay in bounds, you're good.
Barizas did that so pretty.
She is so pretty. Beautiful toe stop work. Checking to make sure gravity is still on. It is.
Yep.
All 4 blockers now grinding to a halt, trying to hold Barizas. Getting some offensive help from her friends. As Jaeger does re-enter from their penalty. Barizas through for 4 more points.
And I believe Yes, I do believe that Jaeger's going to have to complete an initial because the
Yes.
penalty was called at the end of the initial.
And does so with a beautiful toe-step work on that inside line. Jaeger out on their initial pass 4. And Bree is going to go ahead and call off the jam before Jaeger can add any points to the board. That does bring us not only to 80 to 70 for the score, but it also brings us to intermission.
That's right. We'll see you guys back here at in about 10 minutes.
Perfect. I'm going to go steal some donuts.
Donuts!
Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm back.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Just had to lie on the floor for a little bit.
It's cooler down there.
It's so much cooler down there. All right, welcome back. We're about to start the second half of the first game of the second day of the Minnesota Roller Derby Have a Nice Day tournament. Oh my God, that's a lot to say in one
That's a
breath.
lot to say.
I'm exhausted. All right, refs making sure jammers still have arms. They both do. That's so great.
Everything seems to be in order.
Guess what? Empty penalty box.
Woo!
I love that. Big fan.
So we see Breezes wearing the star for Minnesota.
True.
And we got Princess Leia wearing the star for Arizona.
Also true. Full
And
compliment to blockers.
And they're off. And Breezes takes lead jammer right into turn 1.
Not far behind, though, is Princess Leia for Arizona looking to make up some space.
Princess Leia putting on warp speed.
And Breezes going to make a quick call off for Minnesota. See how many points she scored. Looks like we do have 2 in the air for Minnesota, 1 for Arizona. So 2. We do have Arizona's pivot hanging out in that penalty box.
Uh-oh.
They just want to take a seat. It's all right.
You got to get a breather.
Yeah. Boo Boo going up against Axel for this next jam. Shout out to Beef Chief, our timer for this game. Thanks, buddy.
Indeed. Thank you, Beef Chief.
I just like saying his name.
It's fun.
Beef Chief. All right, that is going to be Boo Boo out for lead from Minnesota with 1 more to beat. We do see Axel going ahead and removing that star for Arizona, looking for a pass. Their pivot is unfortunately in the penalty box.
Yep.
But it's a nice distracting move. Boo Boo coming in for 4 points. Tiptoeing up on that inside line does get through successfully. Axel fighting against that Minnesota tripod in the back. That is going to be Laura, Danger, Bunny, and Speed Rita. Boo coming in, and that is going to be a back block, unfortunately, on Minnesota's jammer.
Womp womp.
Making this a power jam, and it is now going to be Colette Razorcat, pivot turn jammer for Arizona. We have 1 minute, 10 seconds left in this jam for Colette to do some serious damage against that score, getting some offensive help from their friends along that turn 1.
And I've seen Colette Razorcat play before. This is actually, it could be very advantageous for Arizona.
Yeah.
But with the blocking we're seeing today.
From both teams.
Oh my goodness.
It is a slog out there.
It makes you glad when you've done your squats and your leg presses.
Yeah, I totally do those.
You got to cross train. Or you should anyway.
All right, Danger is drawing Colette Razorcat back.
Boo Boo rejoining the fray. Actually, that's more of a fracas, isn't it?
I like fracas.
Fracas.
That's a better word. Joining the fracas. Boo has 2 left to beat at the top. Now 3. Now all 4 Arizona blockers holding Boo as Rita and Danger draw Colette Razorcat back once again, back in time. Fun reminder, again, you do have to re-enter behind whoever hit you out of the track bounds. Boo, toe stopping.
Nice toe stop action from Boo Boo. 4 points up for Minnesota.
We are hearing a couple whistles. We now have a blocker apiece sitting in that penalty box. Let's see how the points laid out after this jam. I see 8 on the board for Minnesota, 4 on the board for Arizona. That does bring Minnesota across that century mark. 101 Minnesota, 75 Arizona.
And playing at home, it's time to take a sip.
Century mark.
Take a sip. We've got Gail Satan on the line for Arizona up against Twisted Transistor.
Aw.
Both very tall jammers.
Very tall jammers.
Even taller on skates.
That's true. And it is going to be Twisted up that inside line with some spectacular toe stop work. Gail Satan still fighting through that Minnesota tripod. Twisted coming around. And I believe that will be a penalty on Gail Satan, making this a power jam for Minnesota. Jammer penalties still playing a big part in this game.
Arizona picked up 6 jammer penalties the last half to Minnesota's 2. Now we've got 1 in the second half already. Twisted Transistor picking up her 4 points.
We have another whistle, which means another Arizona blocker is going to be heading to that penalty box.
Forearm call being assessed on Sunny Ono.
Twisted through for 4 more points for Minnesota. This is Twisted's first All-Star season with Minnesota.
Well, congratulations. It's a stellar All-Star season.
She is having a great game so far. Another 4 points. We do see Marty McFly from Minnesota pivot headed to that penalty box. Gail Satan, some beautiful work on that inside line, coming through from the box, looking to score some points for their team. Twisted with a move I didn't think existed up around that outside line. That is going to be 16 points on the board for Twisted, 4 on the board for Gale as they come through on their first scoring pass.
Twisted coming up for more points. Twisted on the outside line, going to recycle back behind Rajin. Bajan, little apex hop there by Gale Satan, 4 points.
Beautiful apex jump.
2 feet, 2 feet.
Twisted being told to call the jam. Let's see what the points look like.
It appears to be a 20-point jam for Twisted, and 20-point jam makes it the highest scoring jam of the game. 8 points went up for Arizona, nothing to sneeze at with those blockers. Oh my goodness, that is Jaeger rolling up. Is it Jaeger? No, that's not Jaeger. That's Kiwi. I wanted it to be Jaeger.
Oh yeah.
And that is Fanny Smack, is it not?
That is T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Both jammers fighting. We do have one Minnesota blocker in the box, giving Arizona a pack advantage for this jam start. Kiwi fighting against those Minnesota 3. T-Rex squeezing through, trying to make some purchase on that inside line, now fighting through the middle of that tripod. Kiwi dancing back and forth, but it is going to be T-Rex as lead jammer. Kiwi does remove their star, looking for a pass. T-Rex coming around for some points. Meeting a defensive 2-wall, now 3-wall in the back, put up by Arizona. We do have Thrash from Minnesota re-entering, and it is going to be 4 points on the board for T-Rex. Woo! Oh, a little slip and slide on that outside line. We've been told that the floor is very sticky, but I think there's also been some slippery moments as well.
Yeah.
Every floor is different.
Every floor is different, and this one's kind of special.
They're
it's
all
not an even,
special.
It's not an even paint job.
No. It's Minnesota, so of course this is normally a hockey rink, because what else would we have?
Right. 4 points go up, and Kiwi through the pack from the initial.
We do have 2 Minnesota blockers in the penalty box. And it looks as though T-Rex is being told to run it. I wonder if the goal is to clear some of the blockers out. Kiwi, though, making short work of that inside line. 4 points on the board for Kiwi and Arizona Roller Derby.
She just kind of stepped.
She did.
In the right place.
Very gracefully so.
Yeah, very, very nice little footwork trick there. I don't know if it was a trick, but I'm calling it one.
I'll call it a trick.
I couldn't do it. Then again, me on skates, it's like a baby giraffe.
Come on. That's what most jamming is just baby giraffes. That's what I look like on skates. All right, we do see Jaeger for Arizona going up against Fanny Smack from Minnesota.
There's the pairing I was looking for.
There's the pairing. You were ready. You were just practicing for this jam.
Predicting the future.
Jaeger, quick work of that Minnesota tripod is going to be out for lead. We do have one more Minnesota blocker re-entering the track from that penalty box. Fanny Smack has passed the star to Marty McFly. Pivot turn jammer. Marty McFly, remember with that, I believe, 16-point jam. Last time she took a star pass, now has Cap on head, coming in for some points of her own, but Jaeger smartly is going to call off that jam, holding Minnesota scoreless. 4 on the board for Arizona, bringing their score total up to 91. 131 for Minnesota, and we have 22 minutes left in the second half.
Still by no means a runaway game.
Not at all.
Not a bit. That's one of the interesting things about roller derby, that people who've never noticed this game before, or newbies to the game, 30 points, 40 points, that's not big lead.
You could do that in 2-3 jams.
Yeah,
easy.
exactly. If you play your skates right.
All right, we do have Princess Leia going up against Breezes. Empty penalty box, so all 4 blockers on the track for each team, and it is going to be Breezes out for lead for Minnesota, sneaking through that middle, but not far behind is Princess Leia. Yet another race against these 2 jammers. Princess
Leia's got like a 5th speed.
Pretty much, yeah. She just puts that in gear, and before she can score points, Breezes is going to go ahead and say, no thanks.
No thanks.
I'm all done.
I'm good.
I'm full, thanks.
So that brings us to 132-91. Again, still nothing. Gail Satan rolling up to the line for Arizona. And I see Boo Boo jamming for Minnesota. Being new to Minnesota, it's kind of neat because I'm announcing for a team that I know but don't know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, I've announced for everyone here at one point, except for North Star.
Okay.
And I'm excited to see that game because I'll be calling it too.
They're great to announce for as well. We love announcing for North Star. That is going to be Boo Boo out for lead jammer for Minnesota. Not far behind, though, is Gail Satan coming through, trying to put on the gas to hold Boo scoreless. We are going to see Boo coming up, entering to see if we can score some points for Minnesota. And a quick call off from Boo, but not before Gail blasts through that Minnesota tripod in the back.
Did not do much good, though, because it is being being rated a scoreless jam for Arizona.
1 point. Clear penalty box.
Twisted Transistor wearing the star for Minnesota, and that is Jaeger jamming for Arizona. Jaeger only had a 2-jam break, so
that's plenty. They're fine.
All
right. Both jammers, but it is going to be Twisted out for lead on that outside line. Beautiful toe stop work. Jaeger being recycled back by number 1717, Benicula from Minnesota. Jaeger trying to blast through that Minnesota tripod. We will unfortunately see Twisted headed to that penalty box, making this a power jam for Arizona. But we also see Arizona's jammer headed to another jammer do-si-do.
Jammer do-si-do, and this is going to be a quick one because Twisted sat down, and then Jaeger sat down, and then they have to hop back up.
Out. Yep. Very fast do-si-do. So that does mean, folks, that this is going to be a 2-minute jam, giving jammers plenty of time to get some work done on these scores for their respective teams. Twisted doing some fantastic toe-stop work on the inside line. 4 points for her team. Jaeger working through the back of that pack. Cap still on for both jammers. Jaeger is going to be through. I believe that was their initial pass.
That was the initial.
Yep. Now coming in for some points of their own. Clear penalty box for both teams so far. Twisted being recycled all the way back.
2x4 at the rear of the pack, blocking Twisted Transistor solo as they come into a braced 4-wall.
Not where you want to be as a jammer. Braced 4-wall. No, thank you. Both jammers now about to encounter some serious defensive work from both of these teams.
And the defense just sits on them.
Sits. Slow and low is what you hear, but Twisted making short work of that pack. 4 more points for Minnesota. Jaeger pushing, getting past some blockers in the back for Minnesota. Hands in the air showing that they are not using their forearms, which is something you cannot do in Derby. Oh,
Speed Rita going down to the inside. 4 more points up for Twisted Transistor.
We do have 10 seconds left on this jam.
Yep.
Remember, this is a 2-minute jam.
So far, Twisted's got 12 up. No points for Arizona just yet. Now that's 16 for Twisted.
Another impressive scoring jam from Twisted. 16 points. Minnesota, 91 for Arizona.
Points went up for Arizona. A little last
I take
coda.
It back. Sorry, Arizona. I take it back.
That's a musical term.
Clear penalty box. We've got Fanny Smack going up against
Kiwi.
Thank you. Kiwi for Arizona. All 4 blockers. Still no one besides, we still do have one Arizona skater sitting at 5 penalties. Other than that, no one else in real penalty trouble. 17 minutes left in the second half. Both jammers working. We have yet to have a lead jammer announced for this jam.
Working hard.
Both jammers, I mean, just pushing.
Going nowhere fast.
No. The defensive moves that these two teams have put up have been incredible, but that is Fanny Smack out for lead for Minnesota.
Minnesota's lead jammer status or rating is really telling the story of this half. If you look at how many lead jammers Arizona has had versus how many Minnesota has had, you can tell who's running the scoreboard right now because the strategy does work that way. 153 to 95.
We will see Arizona's pivot starting this jam in the penalty box. Taking a little seat.
Taking a little seat, little breather. Princess Leia rolling up to the line for Arizona. That is that Breezes? That's Breezes.
That's Breezes for Minnesota. Jam is underway. Both jammers fighting through, but that is going to be Breezes on that outside line. Quick lead for Minnesota roller derby. Princess Leia working on that initial pass. Does run into Minnesota's defense, but is pushing hard, looking at all that strength up against the top of that pack. Princess Leia now out on their initial pass. Breezes looking to score some points for Minnesota. Looking towards the bench. and is going to go ahead and call the jam before Princess Leia can make points. Princess Leia, though, again, that 5th gear really kicking in, that burst of speed, holding Minnesota to not a lot of points. 3 on the board for Minnesota. We now see both pivots for these teams sitting in the penalty box.
No start passes right away for them.
Not yet.
Not yet. Axel on the line for Arizona. Up against, that's Boo Boo. I was like, I think that's Boo Boo, yeah.
Boo Boo, yep. Also responds to Bobo, which she loves. All right, Boo Boo and Axel working hard against these tripods. No lead yet declared. Arizona's pivot is back on the track. Boo Boo being recycled back along that outside line. Axel making hard work, pushing up against now 2 blockers to beat against Minnesota. Beautiful toast-up work on the inside line from Axel, and Arizona roller derby now has 1 to beat and is now going to be lead jammer Axel for Arizona roller derby.
Incidentally, Axel's the one that got lead jammer the time before.
Killing it.
So that's 2 lead jammer statuses this half for Arizona. Looking at the penalty board real quick. Someone at 5 from Arizona still, but has not picked up any additional. And they have been playing, so... Arizona blocker headed to the penalty box along with Boo Boo, leaving a power jam for Arizona.
Power jam, and Axel does have lead, so it is in Axel's power to either run the jam or call it, freezing that Minnesota jammer in the penalty box. Looks like Arizona is going
to the penalty box before the call-up can happen.
Jammer, do-si-do.
Do-si-do. We got some square dance happening here.
We're preparing for Texas. We're welcoming here with a square dance.
That's right. Welcome Texas with the square dance.
That will make this a 2-minute jam.
2-minute jam. Another 2-minute jam.
Yet another. We've got 40 seconds left on this jam. Boo Boo entering from the penalty box. Going to make some quick work on that inside line.
Boo Boo clear on the initial. Was not a short sit for Axel.
You love a short sit. Axel now working on that outside line, being recycled back. Boo being held still on that inside line by a full complement of Arizona blockers. Slowing her speed. Axel.
That's a catch and kill right there.
Yeah, it is. By Fieri from Minnesota trying to do some offensive work. And is instead going to go to the penalty box.
Forearm call on by Fieri. And that's 2 minutes. 4 points go up for Arizona. 3 for Minnesota.
4 for Arizona, 3 for Minnesota. We will start this jam with 1 Minnesota blocker in that penalty box. It looks like we're going to see Gail Satan going up against T-Rex.
This is a pairing we've seen before, but it's never shook out the same way twice in a row.
Very true. They like to keep us on our toes.
They do. Well, they stay on their toes.
They do stay on their toes. Speaking of toes, no, both jammers pushing against those tripods for the respective teams. Gail Satan blasting through, putting on that burst of speed, has 2 more blockers left to beat up at the top, and will be out as lead jammer for Arizona. T-Rex still working through in the back of the pack. 1 to beat at the top, and T-Rex will now be through on their initial as well. Gail Satan coming up for some points for Arizona. We do see another Minnesota blocker headed to that penalty box. A hard hit to the outside. That will send another Minnesota blocker to the penalty box. It looked like Danger knew.
Danger accepted the fate.
Danger knew.
And that was 4 points up for Arizona while we were watching Danger get a penalty, which makes Arizona pass the century mark. If you're playing at home, it's time to take a sip.
We will see a team timeout for Arizona. That is the first team timeout we've seen in this half. Once again, remember, each team does get 3 timeouts and 1 official review per half. Minnesota retains all of their 3 timeouts so far. Each team both still retains their official review. Official review is just checking in with the refs, making sure everyone saw the same thing. If everyone agrees, you keep your official review. If there's a disagreement.
Yeah, if not, you lose it. Well, it's our version of instant replay, except there's no replay.
No replay. It's all...
We do it live.
We do it live, folks. Hearing, oh my God, Karina! Cheers echoing through. Thanks to all of our fans in-house today. All right. A team timeout has come to an end thanks to that rolling whistle from Beef Chief. Best derby name. I can't help it.
It's a great one. We got Twisted Transistor on the line going up against Jaeger in the 13th jam of this half. Twisted Transistor finding the outside on the toe stops, and Twisted Transistor taking lead jammer.
Lead jammer with only 2 blockers on the track. Jaeger now out on their initial as well, picking up speed. Still only 2 Minnesota blockers on the track. Full complement of blockers for Arizona.
It's a ref's favorite pack, a fast pack here.
Race. It's like 2014 all over again.
Oh, yeah.
And a quick call off from Twisted.
2 points up for Twisted on that last pass.
That did free one of Minnesota's blockers, so they will start with 3 on the track.
So 103 versus 161 in favor of Minnesota.
11 minutes and 18 seconds left in this second half. Our next game of the day is going to feature Texas Roller Girls versus North Star. That will be at noon Central Time.
This is the Texas Chainsaws that we saw play yesterday versus Minnesota. Nice, this Minnesota team that we're watching now.
Yes. We have Kiwi going up against Fanny Smack. Fanny with 3 to beat at the top. Checks gravity on the floor. Does still work. Kiwi fighting against the Minnesota Tripod in the back. Now full complement of blockers on the track for both teams. And as I say that, we hear a whistle, which means someone gets to go sit down in the penalty box. It's Arizona's pivot.
And lead jammer goes to Fanny Smack.
Kiwi fighting for that initial pass does get recycled back to the back of the pack, but hearing that, we do have another penalty, and that is going to be, unfortunately, Fanny Smack from Minnesota head to the penalty box. That does make this not only a power jam for Kiwi and Arizona, it does make it a 2-minute jam, which everyone loves to hear. 1 minute, 10 seconds left in this jam. Plenty of time for Kiwi to do some serious work on this scoreboard. Kiwi receiving some offensive help from their skating friends. Quick recycle back by Danger. Beautiful offensive work from Arizona on the inside line, but that is going to be so dangerous for Minnesota. Headed back to the penalty box for Minnesota. Fanny Smack, jammer record for Minnesota, now re-entering the track. Still a 2-minute jam. Both jammers fighting against the defensive shapes that both of these teams are putting up. We will see Arizona's pivot headed to the penalty box as well. So both pivots in the penalty box currently. Fanny Smack fighting against one more. Kiwi also fighting against one. Is going to be quick recycle back by Benicula. Fanny Smack out.
4 points for Fanny Smack.
Whoa! A little collision on the floor. That will send a Minnesota blocker back to the penalty box. Kiwi out for 4 points, and that jam will come to its natural conclusion. Looks like we're seeing 7 total points for Minnesota Roller Derby, bringing their score up to 168.4 on the board for Arizona Roller Derby. We will see this next jam with 2 Minnesota blockers sitting in the penalty box and Arizona's pivot standing.
Let's see if that blocker advantage gives them any kind of extra traction.
Yeah.
Sometimes words fail.
It's early. It is so early.
I need more caffeine.
That's fair. Breezes going up against Princess Leia. And it will be Breezes for lead jammer for Minnesota.
I'm not going to jinx Breezes, but I know that her stats are really good for lead jammer status.
Yes.
Like,
very talented.
Very talented jammer. I'm very pleased watching Breezes jam.
And kind of bunny hops her way up the outside line and will call off the jam.
4 points go up for Breezes, and that's 172 to 107.
Does leave 2 Minnesota blockers in that penalty box. That's okay.
That's a thing.
We'll talk about it later.
Yup. T-Rex rolling up to the jam line up against Gail Satan for Arizona.
T-Rex going up against Arizona's. Remove the star looking for a pass, as we do have all 4 blockers from each team fully back on the track. Gail Satan coming around for a scoring pass.
Benicula, now jammer of record for Minnesota.
Gale for 4 points. Just absolutely pinballing their way through that Minnesota tripod, making quick work getting those 4 points on the board. Looking towards their bench for some direction as Benicula does meet the pack for a scoring pass for Minnesota. Gale being recycled back by Laurel Mighty.
Again with that tough defense, that blocking wall by Arizona.
We will see. Unfortunately, that is Gale
forearm
Satan.
call.
On a forearm, this is going to be a
2-minute jam. Fortunately, we were only 1 more minute into the jam, so there's only 1 minute left.
Benicula working hard against this tripod. Benicula did just have some jamming experience. They were a jammer during a tournament playing for Jewish Roller Derby 2 weekends ago. So they've got some jamming experience under their belt. Looking to get some offensive help from his friends. Arizona blockers, though, saying, nah, you're out of luck, buddy.
No, that Arizona blocking line with 2x4s in there is just amazing. Mako doing the work up there.
Hard work, making Bunny work for it. He is recycled back once again as Gale is out from the penalty box and through.
Interesting fact about Blocker Vampire for Arizona, also doubles as an announcer.
Oh, wow. Multi-talented.
I love it.
Gale through for 4 more points on this jam, bringing their jam score total to 12 points. High-scoring jam for Arizona, bringing their score up to 119. Bunny, 4 points for Minnesota, bringing their score up to 176. Looking over, we do see a couple more penalties being held up.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got 2 skaters from Minnesota with 4 penalties apiece. We've got a skater on Arizona with 4, a skater on Arizona with 5.
And then a couple threes.
There's 5 minutes left. You got some wiggle room.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go nuts, but you got some wiggle room. We do have Jaeger going up against Twisted on the jam line. I almost said empty penalty box, and then the ref said, no, you're wrong.
No.
Arizona blocker being sent to the box.
Jaeger picking up lead jammer. Has to straighten the cap.
Yes, because if your cap is not fully visible, you don't get the points.
Yeah, if it falls off, you're also stuck like Chuck.
SOL, as they say. I won't say the full thing because I will get in trouble. Twisted coming in for a scoring pass. Jaeger's currently scoring points for Arizona.
Jaeger getting called back and calls off.
Sharp hit to the outside from Arizona. Beautiful defensive work from both teams today. We have 4 minutes, 32 seconds left in this half.
So, theoretically, if the time is played correctly and the timeout's played correctly, of course, we could see 3 more jams.
Could do.
Or more.
Could do.
Or more.
Why not? More derby. I'm down for it.
Oh, yeah.
We got time.
That's Kiwi on the line for Arizona up against Fanny Smack. Fanny Smack seeing a successful second half, but it is Gale Satan out first. I'm sorry, that's Kiwi. I keep accusing her of being Gale Satan, and she is not.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Same team, though, so you're close.
Yeah, and they're tall.
Tall. Jammers.
Yeah, tall jammers, very leggy.
I'm sure stunning personalities. I'm sure.
From what I recall.
I'm sure. Best part about this entire game is it does seem like both teams are having a lot of fun out there.
Yes,
You'll love
indeed.
to see it.
Love to see that. It's not as fun when there's a runaway happening.
Not as fun when there's a runaway happening. Not as fun when it seems like the teams are not having fun with each other. So we're seeing a lot of smiles.
A lot of good sportsmanship.
Yes.
Good sportsmanship happening.
Great sportsmanship so far. Great sportsmanship in a tough game. Grinding pods are making it incredibly hard for these jammers to get any purchase. That is going to be Fanny out on her initial, which means that Arizona will go ahead and call the jam, holding Minnesota scoreless. We will see 4 on the board for Arizona, bringing their score total up to 131. 3 minutes left in this half. We will see Princess Leia going up against Barizus. Barizus, as they say. Barizus. On the pronunciation, it says, like Jesus. So
like Jesus,
thanks for that, buddy. Really clears it up.
The joke I heard. Light from heaven comes down, and we're graced with his holy presence, and he says one thing. It's pronounced Jod.
Oh, God. Help. We currently see it is going to be Princess Leia out for lead.
Wow.
Kicking into that 5th gear that they have, blooding on the speed as Bree is working in the back of that pack, still on her initial pass, coming against the full complement of Arizona blockers. does tiptoe through on that outside. We will see Arizona's pivot headed to the penalty box. Along with Minnesota's pivot, they just have to go together. They're twins.
4 points go up. And gravity still on for today. Players Leah calling off the jam. After putting up 4 more points for Arizona.
135 to 178. 1 minute, 55 seconds left in this half. We will see, once again, both pivots hanging out in the penalty box. Don't go anywhere without a buddy, even to the penalty box.
Into the penalty box, yep. Gail Satan on the line for Arizona. That is Boo Boo jamming for Minnesota.
And Boo Boo tiptoeing up that inside line will be lead jammer for Minnesota. Gail Satan still blasting through that Minnesota tripod, looking to complete their initial pass as well. Instead runs into Banicula. No, thank you. Boo coming in for her first scoring pass of the jam. Gail Satan has now removed that star, looking for some help from their pivot. Unfortunately, buddy, your pivot's in the penalty box. Sorry, friend. Boo being ground to a halt on the top of that pack by Arizona's defense. Does tiptoe through for 4 points. Not far behind, though, is Gail Satan on their initial star back on the head. Boo checking in with her third base coach and the bench saying, what do I do? And they say, keep going.
Keep going. Okay, let's
You got 57 seconds left. Oh, she's going to call it. She says, all done. No thanks. Would rather not.
So that freezes Arizona scoreless. No points on the last pass for Boo Boo. Brings us to 182 to 135.
We will see.
Timeout for Arizona.
Timeout. Official review for Arizona.
Official review. Oh, even more exciting. Now we get to find out what happened.
I love the gossip. That's why I'm here.
It's always so tense. You go up there and everyone's giggling.
Very serious.
It's serious time.
It's a serious game.
Yes. This is when it's time when things kind of get to the cutting of the fat. When an uncalled penalty can mean a big difference.
True.
Now's the time.
True.
It may not mean a whole lot with 50-point spread, but
you guys are so loud. My goodness. Okay, give us another cheer. Come on, dear family, give us another cheer. We're putting you on the spot. No pressure. No pressure. Oh my gosh. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying. I got no clue.
Waiting for the official word on the official review from Don Scorleone. He's over here. Hi, how are you?
We're going to get the hot tea. Hold on. All right, official review called on Arizona. Wait for it. Arizona was looking for a skating out of bounds penalty on the white jammer. The ref said, nah, bestie, you're wrong. Arizona will not retain. We now do see Twisted Transistor as lead, but not far behind is Jaeger from Minnesota.
Another skater with a 5th gear, Jaeger.
So many gears.
So many gears, I can't even go there. And Twisted Transistor on the inside line, 4 points up for Twisted. And there's
Jaeger.
that Minnesota blocking once more. Gonna have to let Jaeger go. 4 points up for Jaeger.
Twisted through for 4 more points. Jaeger coming up for some points of their own. Getting some beautiful offensive help from their skating friends. They will get through for 4. We will see. Unofficial score currently 143 Arizona, 190 Minnesota.
Wait, that might update. I think I saw 12 points go up for Minnesota.
Oh, probably.
Either way, currently we're looking at the unofficial score. 143 for Arizona. It could be 194 for Minnesota. Or it might be 190 for Minnesota. Is it 194?
They're conferring.
Is that correct? Yep, that's a final 190.
That rolling whistle means this first game of the day is done. Thank you so much to our skaters, our coaches, our refs, our non-skating officials.
And our photographers making us look great.
Yep. We will see you back here in 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Time to eat some foods.
Done. Bye-bye.
Bye.